Coming up on this edition of the ZTV Sports Report, Zips football opens up MAC play against Miami of Ohio, men's soccer tries to continue their winning MAC streak, and Chris Kuhn sits down with women's volleyball coach Ron Allrenz. All that and more right here. Welcome back to another episode of the ZTV Sports Report, your home for Akron Zips Athletics. I'm your host, Anna Tultz. We've got soccer, a look in depth, and women's volleyball. But let's start with football. Coming off a loss after visiting Vol Nation, the men's football team began MAC play at home against Miami of Ohio. There was a lot riding on Bowden's shoulders as the fans look for a win to start the conference off right. Miami is off to a 2-2 start this season. Can the Zips defense stop the Redhawks' high-scoring attack, or will the offense have to keep pace? Early in the first quarter, Miami's Zach Dysert finds DeJuan Scott for a big 30-yard pickup thanks to poor tackling. He's finally pushed out of bounds at the Akron 35. That would lead to a Miami touchdown, and it's an early 13-point lead. Late in the first quarter, Dalton Williams fires deep to find Gerard Dillard for a 56-yard catch and run for a touchdown, and the Zips were on the scoreboard. And this guy's loving it. Zips' first possession of the third, trailing by a touchdown, not anymore, as Williams finds D. Friesen for a 27-yard touchdown. The Zips were actually able to take a 1-point lead late, but Miami's Justin Seamus scores from 4 yards out to put them up by 7. Last chance for the Zips, a minute left, no timeouts. Williams finds Friesen again for 11 yards for the first down. Next play, back to Friesen, this time for a short pickup that keeps the clock running, and time runs out for the Zips as they lose a heartbreaker to Miami, 56-49. Zach Dysert chewed up the Zips defense, throwing for 516 and 6 touchdowns, and also ran for 108 yards. For the Zips, Jawan Chisholm ran for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Dalton Williams continued his stellar play by throwing for 446 yards and 4 touchdowns. Zips start the MAC campaign 0-1.
I don't think either defense figured out either offense today. The quarterbacks and offenses had the day, and you know they won the toss and chose to receive, and we were chasing points all day. And there at the end we got ahead, but you just knew you had to have one more at bat, and then you figure out how are they going to score quick enough to get that ball back. And but they just got we had some personal fouls that kept drives going at the end. They became the story in my mind at the very end of the game.
Concussions have been a very big concern in football, and our very own Mike Milletti takes a closer look into the growing health problem.
In the highly competitive, fast-paced, and hard-hitting game of college football, injuries are inevitable. Perhaps the most insidious of these injuries is the concussion. Failure to report and treat concussions properly has become a very controversial topic in recent years.
A tough football player, somebody who wants to go to college, somebody who wants to be a professional player, does not really want to have the history of concussion, and so they fail to report. Is this a very wise decision? No.
While crushing hits are a part of the game and exciting for fans, they don't come without consequences.
Symptoms can be ongoing and sometimes for a lifetime. So we have to be concerned about our athletes as well as other individuals who have multiple concussions over time, because they can accumulate over time and symptoms can become worse over time as well.
Recent rules and legislation are proving to be effective. Since 2009, the amount of reported concussions each season has increased dramatically. This is strong evidence that concussions were simply going unreported in the past. This is especially dangerous for the college athlete.
Our college athletes we worry about because we want them to be good students and we want them to be good citizens, because most of them are not going to go on to be professional players. If you return to play too quickly, you can actually sustain very serious damage, and there, of course, are examples where individuals have died on the field.
Mental and physical toughness aren't the only factors in deciding to stay on the field. Players are also under enormous pressure to perform. That being said, the progress made in the past 3 seasons is encouraging.
After 25 years of experience, I think it's a very big deal. I think that we have to err on the side of caution. I realize that scholarships and championships and alumni who are concerned about having a winning game all want to influence that player's family, and the coach's decisions. But if we want that player to safely return and be there for the rest of the season, removal from play from that game seems to be a pretty good rule to follow.
Those rules are in place to ensure the safety of our student athletes. For the ZTV Sports Report, I'm Mike Milletti.
The men's soccer team had their first MAC game at home against Buffalo. They went into Saturday's game 1-0 in the conference and looking to pick up their 6th win of the season. Zippy giving the Rowdies some love before the start of the game at Cub Cadet Field as Akron gathers themselves to take on the Bills. Will the Zips offense be able to take control of the game? A corner kick by Aiden Quinn goes to Ronaldo Brenes, who uses his head on this one, putting the Zips up 1-0 at the start of the first. Brenes would be a big player throughout the rest of the game. Buffalo tries to answer an Akron goal, but the Zips defense keeps the Bills from getting a shot off. Later in the first half, Akron up 2-0, Brenes scoring yet again his 3rd of the night, setting the Zips up with a comfortable 3-0 lead as the teams head into the lockers at the half. Neither team will score until late in the second, with Scott Caldwell taking a penalty shot, who was able to sneak it past the goalie. Bills trying to get on the scoreboard, but the Zips defense is too strong. Akron up 4-0 with less than 3 minutes to go, but Buffalo, quite frustrated with the outcome of this game, has something to say to the Zips. Doesn't help them as they can't get a goal before the buzzard. Akron gets the shutout, winning 4-0. The Zips win their 6th game of the year, 2nd in the conference, while Buffalo drops their 8th. Coach Caleb Porter has this to say after the game.
We created a lot of chances, 28 shots. And our defending, we've also been working on that the last couple of weeks. Just being better individually and collectively, ramp it up more, dig in harder when we lose the ball. And we've emphasized that a lot the last couple of weeks, and I thought it was the most dominating defensive performance we've had all year. We had the goal of going into the game and not allowing Buffalo to get a shot on goal, and we did that.
Coming up after the break, we see if the women's soccer team can snap their 4-game losing streak, and we'll see if the women's volleyball team can get back on the winning track. You are watching the ZTV Sports Report.